that, and much that has been done, as I said, this really frightening ability of Netflix to judge the reaction of people to the films they're choosing. I mean, it's very fine, as I say. I mean, not just a comedy, but the difference between, you know, a smart Marx Brothers comedy on the one hand, or a dumb, you know, regular comedy on the other. I mean, the machine makes these distinctions. So it's the increasing ability, and as we know, I mean, computers are winning chess games, or they have been for over a decade now. It's the appearance of machines doing what we think is human that conduces to the belief that humans are machines. And there is, as you know, the Turing Prize. I mean, every year in Britain, there is a contest. But I mean, I can see by expressions on the faces of people in the audience that you know about the Turing Prize, so I'm not going to go on about it. But I mean, it is where institutionally the question is raised about how profoundly humanoid a machine can be. But if you said, the reason I spent some time going on about that man Bakhtin is because his metalinguistics is it's a view of language based on the uniqueness of the event, on the moment in which language is used, and the untranslatable that occurs in that moment, that is still there, I mean, so that there is a spectrum from Shannon and the new work that's being done in TR on the one hand, and dialogue, and metalinguistics, Bakhtinian metalinguistics. I mean, there are others who maintain this as well. It just happens that I think Bakhtin's is what I know about. But does that speak to the question? I mean, it is the case. I should, and this is, if it, stop me if you've heard this one too, but I mean, you are probably aware that there is a difference between the way machine translation technicians conceive repetition and the way in which, for instance, Chomsky's recent work conceives the hold on. This is embarrassing. This is a word recursive. I always block on recursive. I don't know. It's because I don't want to repeat recursive. At any rate, so I write it. At any rate, the point is that recursivity is at the base of Chomsky's current theory of how language works. But so there's a sense in which he is emphasizing the degree to which there is pattern and some kind of repetition in human language as well. And so there have been attempts to associate Chomsky's, especially after the 2002 paper in Science, which was on the language attribute that he wrote. But the difference between recursivity and the repetition that's built into machine translation is the difference, is this. Well, I mean, it's best caught in the most frequently used icon for recursivity, which is a box of Dutch chocolate. I know, van Droste. Some of you may have had Droste. Well, you may remember that in one of the ways in which Droste chocolate was packaged was with a nurse carrying a tray that had a cup of chocolate or cocoa and a box of Droste chocolate on which was a picture of a nurse carrying a tray that had a cup with a box of Droste chocolate. I mean, the point being that it's not merely a mise en abîme. It is an emphasis on same but different, always different. I mean, that's the key to recursivity. And it is, by the way, the key to recursive is also a term that's used in coding for computers. And recursive has that meaning in coding as well. But that's quite different from the dream of immediacy that motivates some of the more militant people who are doing machine translation. Yes, please.
I've always been interested in the variability of the noise threshold between different languages and language systems. I think Shannon pointed out that English has something like this where it's ridiculously high noise threshold tolerance. It's like, I forget the number, but it's like 47%, something like that.
I think 54, actually.
Yeah, so it's like half of what I say. Even if you don't hear half of what I say, you can still make out my meaning. That's surprisingly high compared to other languages. So I was wondering, like, inflected languages, for example, I think are quite a bit lower. Of course, there's the case of Google pulling out of China, ostensibly because they couldn't get along with the government. It was more likely the case that they couldn't quantify Chinese as effectively as they could English. And I wondered if you've ever considered how those different, those disparities between noise threshold like influences speech and thinking, I guess, in those different tongues.
This goes to the heart of what we were talking about at the outset of what happens when we read. Because the degree to which language is able to motivate thought is grounded in the crudest physiology. I mean, the sound mechanism of particular languages. I mean, not just the phonemes, but the sounds they will recognize as having some kind of meaning. What that has to do with the relation to the rest of the culture, that is to say, is there something different about English speakers? I mean, do they think differently because of the larger pattern of sound recognitions that are available to English or not, is something that is not much studied as far as I know. And secondly, I mean, even to think that it might be, I think is already tending in the direction of standardizing cultural effects in terms of mechanical aspects of the language.